It is a great shame. You know, he was a true warrior, and everybody's thoughts in boxing are with him. He came from the era of when, you know, it was probably the best era of heavyweight boxing ever, and it's just such a great shame he is where he's at now.
Will he always be most remembered for those 3 fights with Muhammad Ali?
Yeah, again, they were great fights of the generation. Probably some of the greatest heavyweight fights in boxing. And also sticks in my mind is the fight he had against George Foreman, which he got beaten in, when he was going into that fight and was expected to be you know, he was expected to win that fight and got beaten. But the fights he had with Muhammad Ali were sensational. Brutal fights, 15-round fights, tough fights in their days. And unfortunately for him, you know, he fell out with Muhammad Ali over some of the things that were said at press conferences at the time, which is a great shame, and he became very bitter towards Muhammad Ali. But he was well loved, well respected in the boxing world. And I remember a few years ago, probably about 20 years ago, I brought his son over, Marvis Frazier, who followed in his footsteps, and he had a couple of fights over in the UK, and I spent some time with him. And he was just you know, he was a real nice, tough guy. Came from a real tough city, boxing city, Philadelphia. And it's a great shame that he is where he's at the moment.
Yeah, you said, I wrote it down, tough fights in those days. Was it so different when he was boxing than it is now?
Oh, much, much so. I believe in those days, you know, for one thing, they were 3 rounds longer than the fights. And also the referees in those days, I thought, let fights go more than they would do in this day and age. They let fights go on a little bit longer. And one of the fights he had with Muhammad Ali, he was pulled out by his manager and trainer at the time, Eddie Futch, which he was really angry with. I think it was at the end of the 14th round, the final round, and Muhammad Ali himself was going to quit in that round apparently, or they were going to do the same thing with him, but they pulled him out first. And he was such a warrior that he was. He went crazy over that and didn't, you know, was very angry. But a phenomenal a boxer, phenomenal heavyweight. If he was boxing today, there would be nobody to live with him.
Really? You
Absolutely.
really think that?
He'd had the beating of the Klitschko's. I really do. Yeah, I think he was such a great fighter. You know, at his prime, he was just phenomenal. And I think that in this day and age, none of these guys would live with him.